Well, hello, everybody. Did Michael Carty commit suicide, or was his disappearance attributed to a tragic accident? And the real question I'm going to have is Davy Jones' Locker going to keep this secret and keep the family from guessing year after year? A family that's looking and missing their loved one. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Profiling Evil in this special edition release on the Michael Carty case out of New Jersey. Well, this one has been sitting in the vault for 12 months, all as part of some of the work I did for AWP prior to a trip they were going to make along the East Coast last year. Now, things have all changed there, and there's been a lot of disruption, but these cases were investigated by me, and I felt like it was time to release them. In fact, the family's been wondering why they haven't been. So, a lot's happened since then. And again, I haven't been able to get Michael's case out of my mind, and I'm really proud of the work that we did on it. The work that we did to help prepare divers to go out. With AW's permission, I'm releasing these edited videos now. And please, folks, spare your harsh judgments and let's focus on this missing man, Michael Carty, and his family who continue to look for him. And my hope, it's pretty simple, it's that Michael Carty's family will realize that people are still there for him, that people care, and that Michael's story is still being shared. I would hate to see us discount the many things that were good in working to bring this man home. And I'd absolutely hate for this family not to have the additional exposure that I hope this video is going to give them. So to the family, I'm sorry it's taken me so long to release this, and I hope that you understand. Now, let's dig into Michael Carty's case. Did Michael Carty have an accident 5 years ago, or did he commit suicide? And the big question is, will Davy Jones' Locker give up his secret hiding spot in this part of the Atlantic Ocean? Michael B. Carty disappeared on Sunday, March 19th, 2017, from Middle Township, New Jersey. On the day he disappeared, he sent an email telling his family he was going to commit suicide, referencing that he'd do it in the Bay. In fact, it was backed up by a police report made to New Jersey's 101.5, where investigators are quoted as saying he would be found at the bottom of the bay. Well, let's learn a little bit more about Michael Carty. In most investigations, the first question investigators ask is usually the who done it. Well, we're going to train you to think a little different through these podcasts. And we're going to start with this as the very first question: who's the victim? And maybe equally important, why did they become a victim? You see, by examining who the victim is, we often unravel the case, the key players, and the mysteries along the way. This study of the victim is called victimology. In the broadest sense, victimology examines the situation surrounding a person that's been harmed by an accident, natural disasters, or even human made events. Think back to that Native American proverb that says, never judge another man until you've walked a mile in his moccasins. That's what victimology really helps us do. You see, when crimes occur, victimology kind of examines the relationship between the victim and other participants, the criminal and the criminal justice system, the victim and the criminal justice system, and all the connections between victims and social groups, institutions, and other things. You know, groups like businesses, media, or social media movements. Michael Carty was only 50 years old when he disappeared that March Sunday in 2017. Media reports say that he was last seen about 3:50 in the afternoon, but we found out the exact time. The only forensic evidence we're sure of came from a license plate reader that captured his vehicle's plate about an hour and a half earlier, still inside Middle Township city limits. He was driving his white 2014 Chevrolet Cruze with New Jersey license plate N40EUF. I almost said cop talk, November 40, Echo Uniform Foxtrot. Well, you know what? We also had more information, the actual email. Michael Carty's family provided me with his suicide note, which was actually sent at 3:42 p.m. In that email, Carty said he wasn't going to go to a nursing home and that his family would find him in the bottom of a bay. His sister Denise explained what that reference to the nursing home was all about.
Yeah, well, Michael spent time in when he did his first attempt. Um, he spent time in the skip unit, and they released him, and then that's when, you know, try number two, and he got it. But before try number two, do you notice he said something about nursing home? I think I told you this morning I was trying to get him in a nursing home for his Huntingtons. But Saturday before that, I had reached out to him and sent him an email. Listen, I actually had picked out a nursing home for him, and I really thought he would do well there. And this way, he would have a roof over his head, and they accepted Medicaid. And I tried to make it all positive thing, so that's why he's like, no nursing home. That's why he threw that in there because.
Michael's brother Tom described him as an adventurous guy, often heading into the woods to do exploration. He loved driving his Jeep around. Then, Tom shared a tender moment with me when he decided about whether he would even talk to me in the first place or not. Listen in.
My brother was my kids like a star to them, I guess you could say. He did things with them that I'd be afraid to do. He loved to go off roading in the woods, and towards the end, he was having issues. And my kids adored him. They loved him. They just always had an Uncle Michael story about when they were off roading with him in his Jeep, or getting caught in a puddle, or finding adventures in the woods. So Huntington's Huntington's disease is very degenerative for the mind, and yes, my brother had it, and unfortunately, he was reaching out, and at the time, we were dealing with so many other things that I couldn't help him the way I should have, and it hurts. And you contacting me this week has brought up a lot of pain. I will be honest with you. Okay, pain that I didn't feel originally, I'm feeling now, but that's another story.
Michael Carty is described as a white male, 6 foot tall and 181 pounds. I mean, that's a good sized body. His gray beard matched the gray short stubble that he was allowing to grow out on his head. He wasn't one for fashion, and those closest to him say he would be wearing baggy clothing if found. Now, again, it wasn't because it was stylish, it was an artifact of his recent weight loss. There are a lot of mixed messages out there regarding his weight loss, but it appears to me that it wasn't something to be celebrated. The weight loss was the result of a dire medical condition that he was facing. Carty, by many accounts, was suffering with a debilitating disease called Huntington's. His older brother Joe doesn't know if it was actually ever diagnosed. He didn't think so. The news reports suggest that it was, in fact, a fact. But one thing that was clear was that Michael's behavior had become unpredictable. Huntington's disease is a progressive brain disorder. It's evidenced by abnormal involuntary movements, a severe decline in thinking and reasoning, irritability, depression, and mood changes. This described Michael Carty to a T at that point in his life. Now, if all of that's true and that he did have it, imagine his mindset when doctors told him there was no cure for the disease and no way to slow it down or stop what was happening to him. Just simply understanding this increases our empathy for this man, and it makes it easier to understand why he may have made the choices that he did. Now, do we wish he made different choices? Absolutely. But it helps us understand. You see, A person suffering from Huntington's disease experiences really uncontrolled movement of the arms, legs, face, upper body. Their thinking and reasoning skills are diminished, and frankly, they're no longer able to concentrate or to make wise choices. Choosing to live or die is a wise choice. People dealing with this disease experience depression, anxiety, and uncharacteristic anger issues. To Michael Carty, suicide may have been the only viable option he felt like he had. Now, listen to Denise as she describes what life with Huntington's disease is like. You see, she and several members of her family face the same challenges. It is hereditary, but they've found ways to deal with it effectively.
I tell people it's like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's all bundled into one.
Well, let's take a moment and explore this area on a map. New Jersey is on the eastern shore of the United States. Now, the area we're focusing on is this little peninsula on the east side of Delaware Bay. It kind of separates Delaware Bay from the Atlantic Ocean. The peninsula is divided into middle and lower townships. And originally, I thought Michael lived in lower township, but I actually learned that that was an old address. He actually lived near the police department and the Cape May courthouse in Middle Township. Michael Carty's thoughts of suicide had been acted on before. Just a short time before he permanently disappeared, he went to a secluded spot in the woods out in Cumberland County. It's about 35 to 40 miles to the northwest of his home, where he then took an overdose of ibuprofen. Thankfully, he was discovered by two hunters who called 911 and got him medical care. I plotted out the most probable route that he would have traveled into that area where he attempted suicide for one particular purpose. It was an area that he liked and it was familiar to him. Now, it's along that part of the shoreline that I'm really interested in. And this map shows areas where cell towers are located because we really wanted to know if there was some cell phone information that we could collect. The red circles indicate the strongest area of signal strength from each tower. Now, again, this is really important as we try to theorize where any mobile phone calls could have been made from or where any tracking information might have come from. But listen to Michael's brother Tom as he talked about that suicide attempt.
It was in a wooded area. And he's very comfortable there. He tried to overdose on ibuprofen. All he did was mess up his gut and his kidneys. And at that point, when he realized that he couldn't kill himself that way, I knew he would try something different.
I often say that past behavior is predictive of future behavior. Well, Michael Carty's past behavior leaves the team with a whole bunch of possibilities. I mean, there are literally hundreds of lakes and waterways within a 25-mile radius around his home. Just remember, 6 weeks earlier, Michael Carty attempted suicide in the woods, again, about 38 miles away. Carty likely learned from his first attempt, which he would have considered a failure. You can hear it in his voice in the email, and he suggests that this time he was planning on driving his vehicle into a watery grave. Hey everybody, it's Mike from Profiling Evil. I've been studying criminal behavior for more than 40 years, and one of my favorite research tools is Truth Finder. It's online, and you're not going to believe the information stored there. So if you want to know more about that new neighbor, your babysitter, or your next online date, give Truth Finder a try. I'm including a link below with special discount pricing. You got to click the link to get it, and then enter EVIL10 at checkout. We're an affiliate, which means we get a small commission, enough to buy a small Diet Dr. Pepper, but you can cancel at any time. Thanks for listening today. Carty's brother Joe told me that Michael enjoyed going up to an area called the Pine Barrens. It's a group of several forests in the southern part of New Jersey, mostly up in Burlington County. And again, there are hundreds of lakes in those forests. But Joe says that the state flew with their police plane a number of missions looking for oil slicks in the water, though that would be an indication that there was a vehicle below the surface. To date, nothing's been spotted. But then Michael's brother Tom suggested that Carty also loved to drive along the beach in the wintertime. He often told his brother that the sand was harder then, and whenever he could find an opening to the beach, he would take it and get out and start driving along the beach. Remember, it's March when this happens. That beach is still in the winter time. Now, local police suggest there are dozens of locations on the eastern side of Delaware Bay that could provide easy access. Carty's home is situated only a mile from Delaware Bay to the west, and only 3.75 miles from Cape May Canal to the south. And get this, it's only 7 miles to get over to the wide open Atlantic Ocean. Having a good understanding of Michael Carty's behavior, he caused me to pull up the tide tables for the day he disappeared. As I looked at the information, it was really clear that there were a couple of important things. One is that Michael sent that email just before high tide. That means that 3'7" high tide would have been going out by 6:12 p.m. And here's what that really means. After speaking to a number of boat captains about what the influence of tides would be, was that in reality, once that vehicle settles on the floor of the ocean, the tide probably isn't going to influence it much. It might shift a little, it might pitch a little, but the real challenge will be this sand and debris that will be brought in with an incoming tide and pushed back out to sea with an outgoing tide, eventually covering that vehicle. Don't forget, folks, it's been 5 years since Michael Carty disappeared.
When the Huntington started to take over, it just really changed him. He's just really got it to be really angry, very confrontational, and it just did a 360 on him. The last time I actually saw him was December 2016. Actually, it was Christmas Day. He came over here and was having a really bad day. And I found a diner open. And like I said, this is December 2016, and he would take his life, 3 months later. But he looked horrible. His movements were bad. He could barely sit on the bench. He had a hard time swallowing. He had a hard time talking. And yeah, that was, I'll never forget December 25th, 2016, because yeah, he came over here and was having a really bad day. And sometimes I could talk him down, but at this point he was just, couldn't talk to him anymore.
I looked into some of the land-based evidence that was available, and I learned that the Carty Chevrolet Cruze was, in fact, equipped with a GPS device. This was great news. And then I found out it was a dead end as I discovered the GPS had either been disassembled or it was inoperative. In other words, there's no forensic information available from the manufacturer. My next hope, getting Michael's cell phone and getting that data and looking at the locations and the cell towers that he was last seen near. That too became a failed attempt. Denise shared with me that Michael always purchased burner phones because they were cheap and he could get rid of them. So that was out. I reached out to the police chiefs in both Middleton and Lower Township and connected them with Doug. And as you know, now Doug is working with Middle Township and law enforcement there. I hope they'll take advantage of the true crime community who stands ready to help. I mean, I think about all the people with expertise in the open web and the dark web. Law enforcement has to evolve and figure out how to ask controlled questions from these people. You know, many of us have Michael Cartys in our lives. Somebody who's on the edge and close to making a decision that just can't be reversed. Well, folks, if you or someone you know is suffering with thoughts of suicide, please reach out immediately to your medical or your mental health provider. Now let's take a minute and listen to Denise and Tom talk about their brother Michael.
Well, we grew up actually in Maple Shade, New Jersey, with my mother, my father, the four of us. My parents did divorce when I was young, and my mother did remarry. We enjoyed we had the pool in the backyard, and we did barbecues, and, once in a weekend we'd go down the shore. It was a very happy. Michael he was just so jovial. He just was always cracking jokes. He was always just, he had a heart of gold. He was actually out of high school. He went to Lincoln Tech and became a CAD, the computer automated drafter.
My brother was my kids like a star to them, I guess you could say. He did things with them that I'd be afraid to do. He loved to go off-roading in the woods, and towards the end he was having issues, and my kids adored him. They loved him. They just always had an Uncle Michael story about when they were off-roading with him in his Jeep, or getting caught in a puddle, or finding adventures in the woods. So there was always an Uncle Michael story. He was always getting stuck. He would, growing up, he would always have these funny tales where he got stuck in the woods, he got pulled out, or he was fun. He really was. He was here for the holidays. He was here for the kids. And
hi, I'm Sandy. It's just, what's really weird? Yeah, this is the 5-year anniversary this week of his disappearance. I don't want to say death yet because we don't know, but I still have hope. Oh my God, this is great. I guess I felt like Michael was a nobody, and he wasn't a nobody to us. He's like the favorite uncle, so.
Well, Michael Carty isn't a nobody, and I hope you've come to know him a whole lot better. In fact, I hope you find yourself driving around in that area of the United States, and then if you are, you might look for his vehicle, and that you might remember him and think about his family. Profiling these kinds of cases and talking about the victims and their families is one of the best parts about doing Profiling Evil. It gives me this chance to come to know some of these people that I never would have before. And you know what? I'm really glad I came to know Michael Carty. So, my question for all of you, what do you think happened to Michael Carty? Is he a victim of an accident, or did he finally get his way and actually commit suicide? And let me throw out one more piece of hope. Is it possible that he simply disappeared and he's living the good life somewhere else? Hey, thanks for supporting Profiling Evil. And to Michael Carty's family, thank you for trusting his story with me. I'm sorry it's taken a year to get this thing out, and I hope you understand as I've worked through some of the dynamics here. Folks, if you know anything about Michael Carty's disappearance, please reach out to law enforcement immediately. And again, hit the like and subscribe button, ring the bell, join Profiling Evil, and above all, thanks for your support. We really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon at the next crime scene.